Hey everyone, Delphi Group here, back with the weekly market report. Hope you guys all had a great long holiday weekend. Here we are back for another weekly forecast of where we think the indexes might go. But before we get to the charts, especially the Bitcoin chart, let's go back to last week to see what we said about a possible Bitcoin breakout coming. And we can see here, we did get rid of this one here, but there was one here, okay? And that broke out, we traded that broke out, which led to another bull flag, which we traded that breakout. And now it's at another bull flag here, right at all-time highs. This dotted line is the all-time high area, just over 108,000. Now, just before we got on the call, we did get over 107,000. We do think this bull flag is going to break out, and it is going to take us to much higher levels. We think the all-time high will be taken out. And once you see that all-time high being taken out, look out above, because we do think we're going to get an explosion higher. Okay, we do have targets anywhere. We have a weekly target at 113,000. This bull flag target is roughly 116. Okay, so here we are back with the Bitcoin chart. And like we said last week, we pretty much nailed the call for the Bitcoin all-time high breakout, which literally came the very next day. Okay, there was our call. We talked about these flag patterns, and then wouldn't you know it, Bitcoin exploded up to 112,000. Okay, so we nailed that call for the Bitcoin all-time high breakout, which is this green dotted line. And what has happened since then? Well, we unfortunately, Trump came out on Friday and tanked the markets, including crypto, only to follow to say that he was going to delay those tariffs to Europe. Okay, it's kind of the tariff game going on now, which can be very difficult to trade in all markets. But regardless, Bitcoin did come down to sort of test the top of that flag pattern as support and bounced. That is very bullish. Okay, we do think Bitcoin is going to continue higher, maybe for the next week or two. We have added some exposure on some crypto ETFs, some crypto names via calls, which we added today for the community. So we would expect Bitcoin to continue higher to take out the 112,000 level. Okay, how high does it go before we get a pullback? Again, there are targets on the way up. We have another target at around 113,000. This bull flag pattern is under 116. Maybe we get to 120, 125 before we get a meaningful pullback. But again, everything is still looking bullish for Bitcoin. Okay, and if you look below, the moving averages are crossing upward, which is very bullish. Okay, we had the 50-day cross the 100-day, okay, which is the golden cross, opposite of the death cross, and it has also crossed over the 200-day. Okay, so this is very bullish. The averages are now going to be moving up like the 20-day, and they will start providing support. So the Bitcoin chart is still bullish, and we do think we're going to continue higher here. Okay, before we get to Thinkorswim, let's look at the IWM chart to look at the averages here. Okay, so there's some things going on here. We added this possible pattern as well on IWM, which is going to make this 210 level very, very interesting. Okay, but if you look at the averages now, the IWM has the 100, that's the 200-day there. The 100-day is up here. Okay, and we have resistance levels here. It is caught between those two, and the 50-day and the 20-day. Okay, and it is nearing this short area that we have traded many times. We traded it here, we traded it here on puts. Recently we traded it here. We closed out our put hedge on the gap, which we'll look at on Thinkorswim. Our target did hit here. But again, the IWM, unlike the other averages, still has plenty of resistance above. Now, if it gets above 210 and activates this pattern, that could be a different story, but that has not happened as of yet. And if we look at the Qs, just so you guys can see what we're talking about, the Qs is a much different story. It is over all the averages as well as the SPY. Okay, so that is turning into bullish, but it doesn't mean we can't get a pullback like we did here. And again, we nailed our targets, which we'll get to Thinkorswim right now. Okay, so here we are in Thinkorswim. This is the SPY. You can see our target has hit from, this was maybe 2 weeks ago. We did say we were looking for, again, a pullback here. That was last Tuesday. We did come down perfectly, almost to the penny, to hit that target, and now we bounced, okay? Interestingly enough, this target has hit back here, but we're not in the business of, taking credit for targets from, basically over a month and a half ago. There might be some people on social media that do that. We do not do that. That's going to stay orange because, again, if we're giving out forecasts for traders, okay, this target hitting, all the way here is probably not doing anybody any good, especially after this drop. Okay, we stay honest and true to our forecasts. Okay, so a couple things going on here. First, I want to look at the monthly chart because we are at the end of the month. And we always look at the monthly chart at the end of the month to see what's going on here. We have a pretty bullish candle here, okay, following that wicked hammer on the drop. So that is a pretty bullish candle. Again, we have the rest of this week to go. But we do not like that volume drop here. That is not really bullish, okay? And the indicators are really in the middle, not really telling us much. So just because of the candle, it would maybe point to a little bullishness, but nothing to, get crazy about. So what does that mean now for our forecast on the daily chart? Okay, we are back over this level here, and we are nearing highs here. But what's interesting here is that, and this next move is going to be very important, because if we look back here, we are seeing very similar price action here in this area, okay? So this was an A, B, C, D pattern down, okay? We had A here to B, B to C, and then C to a lower D. Now, if we pivot lower from here and not get above these highs, okay, we could be looking at similar price action here on the indexes to maybe fill that gap that is there, okay? So this will be very interesting to see. If we break out, that would negate that, okay? But again, there's more resistance up here. So that's just something to watch. But for now, we're going to go a little higher for our forecast. And we're just going to go just a little bit higher, roughly right under this high here. Okay, I know it's not a big forecast, but this is going to be very important to see what happens here. Okay, either one of two things might happen here. Either the SPY will continue to go higher to this resistance level, okay, and take those highs out, or we're going to go a little higher like our forecast and then reverse. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. But either way, we think we could go a little higher here on the SPY as kind of maybe just catching a little bit more momentum. And you have to watch out because we are looking at a stale green light. So there could be another day of green that's a lower day. We go higher and then pull back, okay? So we'll have to see that. I'm not making any forecasts on this like I did on the Qs. But that's what I'm looking at on the SPY. Qs will probably be similar. But again, we came out last week, or we came out back here actually, and we made 4 forecasts, okay? Nobody's doing that anywhere. So again, we nailed the forecast higher there. We did come up and we did roll over like we thought we would. And our target on the downside has hit there, okay, and exceeded actually. Came down close to that support level, okay? Again, we did hit the target here on the volume and the CCI as well. So we went 4-0 on all those forecasts. Nobody's doing that anywhere around, okay? So again, what are we looking at here short term? We think we could go higher. This might be a little different because if the Qs goes higher, then we're not going to be looking at an ABCD pattern down. And again, remember, NVIDIA reports tomorrow night on Wednesday. So that is going to really matter probably as well, what happens with these forecasts. Okay, everybody's going to be watching NVIDIA earnings tomorrow night. So here, we're going to go just a little higher, nothing crazy. You know, the highs here were roughly 523, okay, on that candle, I believe. So that's probably where we're going, maybe a point or two higher, and then we'll have to see. What does NVIDIA do? Do we go higher into this resistance zone or do we reverse? Okay, so, but for now we're going a little higher on the Qs, okay? IWM, as we talked about, that target here was hit and exceeded. We can see that here. Okay, we came down actually to the 200 level. In the meantime, we filled that gap. And what happens if you don't know what gap theory is? When gaps fill 80% of the time, the underlying can reverse. And right there, wouldn't you know it, the gap filled and we reversed. Okay, this gap here is still open. Okay, that is a big deal there. Okay, that gap right there is open. Okay, roughly right under 208. So this is going to be a different forecast here on IWM. We do think we're going to go up to fill that gap and maybe test 210. Okay, so we are going to go up here a little bit. And then this will be contingent on a volume drop. Okay, if we get a volume drop up there, okay, if we get a volume drop in the next day or two, again, a lot is going to matter with NVIDIA. We do think we will head back down. Okay, so we'll see. Again, this downward forecast will be contingent on a volume drop here in the next day or two because we already have 3 green. Okay, so again, and then who knows, maybe the CCI will pivot back down. Or we're not, don't hold us to these forecasts, but again, just something to watch out for. We are, depending what happens tomorrow night with NVIDIA, we may be jumping back in puts here as a hedge for the community. Okay. All right. So that's the index forecast for next week. If you guys remember, we did put out 2 bonus charts to look at. One of those was GE, and wouldn't you know it, that forecast played out in spades. It came down. We said it would come down towards the moving average. We expected the moving average to act as support, and that is exactly what happened. Came down here and now bounced. Okay, so though that forecast has hit or played out on GE, so if you traded it, congratulations. The other bonus chart we put out last week was on 3M, and this one really just was incredible how it came down here following the angle of the forecast. Okay, so 3M, mark that up as a winning target hit on our free play. Again, that was, that was roughly, a $6 drop, $6 or $7 drop there on 3M. So if you took puts on our chart, congratulations. Hopefully you closed the trade, took your profits, and moved on. Okay, so that is it from us here at Delphi. We want to wish you guys a good luck this week trading, and please remember to subscribe, like, tell whoever you can out there that we are here for all traders out there to, not only get profitable trading, but remain profitable as well. All right, so that's it from us. Hope you enjoyed this video. We will see you on next Tuesday's call. Have a great week and good luck.